Okay, so now that we know all of this, I'm gonna answer a lot of your questions right now. So now that we've read these books, right, and we've gone through all of these books, let me put it to you this way: Zuval warns that a cosmos divided will not survive what is to come, whatever it is to come. What is to come is the waking up of Azeroth. Because right now, the cosmos is divided. Every single one of the cosmological forces, the forces of the progenitors, of the first ones, work alone. They work against one another. They're constantly infighting and constantly trying to get a leg up on the others. If Azeroth were to wake up now, she would destroy them. This is why Zuval wanted to kill Azeroth and then dominate the universe to ensure that a universe will never again be divided. So if Azeroth isn't the only of her being, because I'm not entirely, here's what I'm not yet absolutely sold on, is Azeroth a being of the force of the other, or is Azeroth the other? That I'm not entirely sure of. What I know now, almost for certain, after going through all of these fucking books, what I can tell you, I mean, the Titans literally hide evidence about the Black Empire. The Titans tell us that, the Titan Keepers are instructed to convince everyone that the Titans are the ones that ordered and created everything on Azeroth, even though that's not true, because otherwise, why would you lie? If it was true, you wouldn't have to lie about it. You could just leave it. Yogg-Saron creates living waters. By the way, that's exactly what happens in the Well of Eternity. The blood of Azeroth is living waters. It creates life. Life teems around the blood of Azeroth, and the trolls literally become night elves at the Well of Eternity. The fact that Yogg-Saron can do that too, I don't think is mimicked. I don't think it's stolen from Azeroth. I think it's literally because he is from Azeroth. They are the creatures of Azeroth. They are her beings. It's life created in a chaotic sphere. It's not ordered. That's why the old gods look the way that they look. That's why we view them as chaotic, and we view them as monsters because they have multiple eyes and multiple tentacles, and because it's chaotic. It doesn't have order, it doesn't have a structure, it's free. But the Titans influenced us because they are working for the progenitors. They're working for the first ones. And the first ones are afraid of this other force because the first ones can't actually create life. They don't have the ability to create life. And if you do not believe me, go to Zereth Mortis. Look at the creatures within Zereth Mortis. Look at Zuval. When Zuval finally dies, he loses his pretend body and goes back to being a construct. Because the first ones couldn't create life. They don't have that ability. Those two forces that the brokers were talking about, two forces at the beginning, one force then created all of this, and the other force is sort of on the outside. The other force was never on the outside. It was locked in the center of the system that the first force created. That's Azeroth. That's a being of this other force, or it is the other force. This is the one part that I don't know yet. And I don't know if we're going to know. We'll have to wait and see what Steve Denuser comes up with here. But so... because they can't create life. They need the other force. That's the thing. The two forces at the beginning, it's the forces of life and death. Or at least the forces of life and death insofar as, I don't even have a word for this, because it's not actually life and death. It's more, what would a being be called that can create constructs and order but cannot create life? It's not death, right? What would you call that? Like if you were to do a macro level thing, right? So it's very macro, it's very big. What would you say that is called? Like maybe spirit and good versus evil? Maybe light versus dark could actually be better. Maybe that's a good one. Actually, that also doesn't work. Let's just call them A and B for now, because I really don't have a word for it. But the first ones are very proficient at creating ordered constructs that don't think for themselves, but constructs that can do. The whole light void, guys, we have to completely lose this. Actually, that's a good one, Apocalypse. We can look at the two forces, the original forces, as life versus synthetics. So life versus AI. The origin forces of our universe is literally the battle between life, actual real intelligence, and AI. The first ones is an AI construct. It's a thing that can create. It can't create real life, but it can mimic it really closely. It can almost get there. That's why Zuval and those beings, the Dark Lord, thanks so much for the gifted sub. Did really appreciate that. Growing the DJ Nation, appreciate you, fam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They can sort of mimic it, and they do it very well. It's almost convincing. When you go into Zeroth Mortis, there are beings that look so convincingly lifelike, but they're not lifelike. They're constructs. They're meant to mimic life, but they can't actually create life. It is Azeroth and the Void, what they call the Void, which is not actually the Void, but it's referred to as the Void because the Titans needed it to be the enemy, needed us to be afraid of it. So the Titans call it the Void, but it's not the Void. It's what can create life. And so the Titans decide to use this ability because they themselves cannot do it. They decide to lock her up. They decide to bind her within the center of the galaxy. And from her life, they would then order all existence. What they didn't plan on, their idea was to create beings that would have anima, because Azeroth is where anima comes from, and the anima would be the fuel, and then those beings would be relatively mindless. So mindless beings that just walk around, and this would be a never-ending cycle of anima that would be fed into the system. Azeroth and the Titans, Azeroth and the Old Gods, then create the gift of flesh. Not the curse, the gift. Infecting actual constructs with a curse. The ability to live. And what is interesting, that as soon as we find the ability to live, as soon as we are freed from our construct nature, we scatter. We don't continue to work for the Titans. We don't continue on the path. We are finally free. In fact, we're so free that the book suggests they can't keep up with us. We're traveling so fast and so far over Azeroth that they can't keep up with us. Almost as if we're running away from them. The heretics that the book speaks of may in fact be Titan Keepers that saw the truth. Sargeras, as the Apocalypse said, also referred to as a heretic. Heretics. The ones who realized what the Titans were doing. Realized the evil of the Titans. The evil of the Titan Keepers, of Odin, of Tyr. Dude, I'll ask again, what if everything we believe up until this point has been a lie? What if the Titans lied to us? What if we already know the Chronicles lied to us, but what if the Eternal Ones have lied to us? What if everything has been a lie up until this point? Because as far as I'm concerned, this throws everything out of whack. This destroys the entire fucking story that we've been told. The lies of the Titans. The Titans did not create the Emerald Dream. The Titans did not create life. They simply ordered it. I mean, it says here in the book, it says, coming to the end, despite the relentless arguments made by some of you, this is not a fallacy. After all, can anything truly said to exist until it has been ordered? Of course it can. Whether it is ordered or not ordered, it exists because it exists. So they found, this is what's interesting. It is said that the Titans don't actually have a word for ordered and a word for creating. It's kind of the same word. That's because the Titans can't create. They can only order that which has already been created. It's misdirection. It's part of the lie. That's what that is. Ferorius, thanks for the deal and sub, bro. Really appreciate that. 40 months in a row. Part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you. So, Akko, I guess the news was right. We just needed to wait and see. Apocalypse, that's a whole different story. This is good. This is fucking amazing. That does not take away from the Shadowlands fiasco, but I will admit that this does make Shadowlands a hell of a lot better. I may actually change my mind about Shadowlands now. it's sort of hindsight, right? So it's kind of like watching that your favorite series, and then it's kind of like I would put it in the same vein as Supernatural, right? So Supernatural, the Leviathan season. The Leviathan season was absolutely miserable, but the Leviathan season became better with more information. Not great, but better. Shadowlands is kind of like that. Now that we get more information around things sort of post, right, of Shadowlands, these things start to make sense. Although a lot of these things may actually have been from Shadowlands that they decided to move into Dragonflight. This is good. I like this. Makes sense. If you construct a building, you kind of create it, but you didn't create the raw materials, but you ordered it into something meaningful. So he says, yeah, but according to them, the ordering that they did doesn't even seem to be that meaningful. It seems to be more brainwashing. So limiting it. In other words, it's not so much order as it is limits. The Titans don't order, they create limits. They go in and they say, okay, this thing can only grow this tall. This thing can only grow here. There can only be so many of it. As a mortal, you can only know this much, and we're not going to tell you any more. They even call us problematic in that sense, because we can't be trusted with anything, and therefore they should lie to us because our brains, our minds are not developed enough to handle the truth. They hide the first ones from us. We know that there are more Zeroth realms now that basically pop up more and more constructs. Dude, I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinion, but I'll just say, fuck my life. Fuck my life. This is huge. I love this.